Hello. My daughter is spoiled, and she caused us to get into a... My daughter, Amanda, is spoiled rotten and caused a huge fight with her grandparents, which ended up with my wife, Jessica, needing stitches. And get this, she still thinks she was in the right. Let me give you some background. I'm Mike, 40 years old, married to Jessica, who is 38. We met back in high school. Jessica's parents were absolute monsters, completely abused her until she finally moved out at 18. Jessica has always tried to be a good mom, breaking the abusive cycle she went through. We both have good jobs, and our kids want for nothing. We've tried not to spoil them too much, given them chores, taught them manners, and they're doing well in school. So one day, Amanda comes home and asks if she can visit her grandparents. We said sure, thinking she meant my parents, but no, she meant Jessica's. Jessica immediately said no, and I backed her up, saying they would have no part in our lives. Amanda accused us of being selfish, saying she deserved to meet all her grandparents. Jessica, who's been diagnosed with PTSD and still sees a therapist because of her awful parents, was visibly shaken. I sent Amanda to her room, feeling utterly annoyed. The next day, I went to talk to Amanda. I said, "Look, I get that you're upset, but we're not saying no just to be mean. There's a lot you don't understand, and I'm going to explain it. Your mom's parents were abusive. She was humiliated daily, screamed at, and terrorized from the age of 6. Every moment and holiday was ruined by fear, and she nearly died on Thanksgiving because of her stepfather. Your mom and her sister still suffer from that trauma, and we will never have a relationship with them. I hope you understand now." I thought Amanda understood after our talk, but boy was I wrong. It was Jessica's birthday a week ago, and though she doesn't really enjoy celebrating, she does it for us. We had a pretty good day with Jessica's sister, our 2 other kids, and my whole family over at our house. We were having a nice time until about 7 in the evening. There was a knock at the door, and Amanda went to answer it. We thought it might be one of her friends, but no. She came back into the living room with Jessica's awful mother and father. Jessica and her sister froze like deer in headlights. Her parents just strutted in like they owned the place, trying to act all friendly. Jessica, with an edge in her voice, asked, "What are you doing here?" They responded, "Our granddaughter invited us." Jessica tried to tell them they needed to leave, but they ignored her. I stepped in and told them to get out, saying they weren't welcome. Amanda jumped in to defend them, saying she had talked to them and that Jessica had exaggerated everything. She said they were good people. That's when Jessica's father smirked and said, "That's right, whatever we did to you kids, you deserved." Jessica lost it and shouted at them to leave. I went to push them out with my dad, but Jessica's father, who is a huge guy, shoved us off and then pushed Jessica into the wall. Her head hit the wall hard and she needed stitches. Immediately, my dad, brother, and I forced him outside and told him if they didn't leave, we would press charges. Her mother kept saying she was a good mom and that Jessica was just being dramatic. My mom took Jessica to the hospital while we were still trying to get those jerks out of our driveway. My mom brought her back home later. Jessica didn't say much, just thanked my mom and went to our room. Her sister was really shaken up and left after hugging Jessica. Our other kids were in the living room, so I told my son and younger daughter to go to their rooms because I needed to talk to Amanda. I admit I completely lost it. I screamed at her, calling her selfish and telling her I couldn't believe she did that. I was furious that she contacted them after I had explained what they did to her mom. Amanda started crying, saying she thought I was exaggerating and that it would be good for everyone to get together. She said she had gotten in touch with them on social media, and they seemed great, making everything seem not as bad. She said she didn't think they could be that evil and be related to us. I told her, "There are evil people everywhere. We have just tried to shield you because parents are supposed to protect their kids." Jessica stormed in then, with that icy glare she gets when she's mad, and said, "I can't believe you would betray us like this, Amanda. After everything I went through, you still did this? You are so selfish and thoughtless." Amanda was sobbing, trying to explain, but Jessica cut her off. "You have no idea what you've done. Every bit of progress I made in therapy is gone because of your stupidity. You think you know everything, but you don't." Amanda apologized over and over, but Jessica wasn't having it. She said, "Sorry doesn't cut it. You risked my health and everyone's safety with your meddling. You have no more phone and no more visiting friends until you earn our trust back. And believe me, it's going to take a lot." Amanda's face was red and puffy from crying, but Jessica just turned and walked out, leaving me to deal with the fallout. I tried to comfort Jessica as much as I could, but she was a wreck. She barely spoke the rest of the night, just sat in our room staring at the wall. I felt like I had gone too easy on Amanda, but I was also so mad that I didn't trust myself to do more at the moment. The next day, I made sure Amanda understood the severity of what she'd done. I told her that we were pressing charges against her grandparents and getting a restraining order. We also deleted all her social media accounts and went through her phone to make sure she had no more contact with them. I told her, "You went behind our backs after we told you the truth. This isn't just about you, it's about the whole family's safety." Amanda, still crying, kept trying to defend herself. She said she thought reconnecting with them would somehow heal old wounds and bring the family together. But Jessica wasn't buying it. She was more furious than ever. "You just don't get it, do you, Amanda? This isn't some fairy tale where everything gets fixed with a hug and an apology. These people are toxic and dangerous." I could see Amanda was struggling to understand the depth of the situation, but Jessica had no patience left. "You think you know better than us? You think you're smarter? Well, you're not. You're just a naive teenager who doesn't understand the real world." The rest of the evening was tense. Amanda stayed in her room, probably scared to face Jessica again. Meanwhile, I tried to talk to Jessica about calming down, but she snapped at me too. "Don't you dare tell me to calm down, Mike. You didn't live through what I did. You don't know the nightmares I still have." I realized there was no reasoning with her at that moment. She was too worked up, too hurt by Amanda's betrayal. I decided to give her some space and went to check on our other kids. They were shaken up too, having witnessed the whole ordeal. I reassured them that everything would be okay, but honestly, I wasn't so sure myself. The following day, Jessica decided Amanda needed to understand the consequences of her actions more tangibly. She grounded her indefinitely, took away all her privileges, and even made her write an apology letter, not just to her, but to the whole family. Amanda was devastated, but Jessica was relentless. "You need to learn, Amanda. Actions have consequences, and you've hurt this family deeply." I felt a pang of sympathy for Amanda, but I knew Jessica had a point. What Amanda did was reckless and dangerous. Still, the tension in the house was unbearable. I could only hope that over time we could find a way to heal from this mess. As days passed, the atmosphere in the house remained tense. Jessica kept a tight leash on Amanda, monitoring her every move. Amanda tried to make amends, but Jessica was having none of it. "You don't just get to say sorry and expect everything to be fine," she would snap whenever Amanda tried to approach her. One evening, while I was sitting in the living room, Amanda came to me looking utterly defeated. "Dad, I'm really sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "I thought I was doing something good, but I see now how wrong I was." I sighed and pulled her into a hug. "I know, Amanda, I know you didn't mean to cause all this trouble, but your mom's right. What you did was serious, and it's going to take time to fix this." Jessica walked in at that moment, her face like thunder. "What are you doing, Mike? Coddling her isn't going to teach her anything." "Jess, she's apologized. We need to start rebuilding trust, not tearing her down further," I tried to reason. But Jessica was adamant. "No, Mike. She needs to understand that actions have consequences. She put us all at risk, and she needs to feel the weight of that." Amanda burst into tears again, and Jessica just rolled her eyes. "Oh, stop with the waterworks, Amanda. Crying isn't going to change anything." I felt caught in the middle, trying to mediate between my daughter and my wife. But Jessica's anger was like a storm that wouldn't pass. She even started bringing up old issues, things Amanda had done in the past, just to pile on more guilt. It was hard to watch, but I knew arguing with Jessica wouldn't help. I tried to distract myself by focusing on work and taking care of the other kids, but the household was in turmoil. Every day felt like walking on eggshells. Jessica's bitchiness was at an all-time high, and there was no calming her down. Amanda, on the other hand, became more withdrawn. She stopped trying to apologize and just kept to herself, clearly feeling isolated and punished beyond what she could handle. I worried about her, but I was at a loss for what to do. Weeks went by, and the tension didn't ease up. Jessica remained as bitchy as ever, making sure Amanda felt the brunt of her anger. She would nitpick at every little thing Amanda did, constantly reminding her of the chaos she had caused. "Don't think for a second that I've forgotten what you did," she'd hiss whenever Amanda tried to get back into her good graces. One night, after the kids were in bed, Jessica and I had a serious talk. "Jess, you need to let up a bit. Amanda is breaking under this pressure," I said, hoping she'd listen. "Are you kidding me, Mike? She deserves every bit of this. She needs to learn," Jessica snapped back. "She's 16, Jess. She made a mistake. Yes, it was a big one, but she's apologized and is trying to make amends. You can't keep punishing her forever," I pleaded. Jessica glared at me, her eyes cold. "You don't get it, Mike. This isn't just about the mistake, it's about trust. She broke our trust and put us all in danger." "I won't let her off easy." I sighed, knowing that getting through to Jessica when she was like this was nearly impossible. She had always been stubborn, but this was a new level. "We need to find a way to move forward," I said softly. "For the sake of the family." Jessica scoffed. "The family? She's the one who tore it apart. If she wants to be part of this family again, she's going to have to earn it." I went to bed that night feeling defeated. Jessica's anger seemed unrelenting, and I was worried about the impact it was having on Amanda. I couldn't help but think back to the times when Jessica had been more understanding and kind. Now it felt like those days were long gone. The next day I decided to take matters into my own hands. While Jessica was out, I sat down with Amanda and had a heart-to-heart. "Listen, I know things are really tough right now," I began. "But we'll get through this. Your mom is just really hurt and angry. But it will pass. You need to keep showing her that you're sorry, and that you understand the gravity of what happened." Amanda nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I'm trying, Dad, I really am. But it feels like she'll never forgive me." "She will in time. Just keep doing your best. Stay out of trouble, focus on school, and be patient. It's all we can do right now," I advised, hoping to give her some comfort. Over the next few weeks, I made sure to spend more time with Amanda, trying to bridge the gap that Jessica's relentless anger had created. Jessica, on the other hand, continued to be as harsh as ever, finding every excuse to remind Amanda of her mistake. It was becoming unbearable, but I had to keep the peace somehow. One evening, as I was sitting on the porch, Jessica came out and sat next to me. "You know, Mike, sometimes I wonder if you even care about what happened," she said, her tone sharp. I looked at her, tired and frustrated. "Of course I care, Jess, but I also care about our daughter. She's young and made a mistake. You've got to let her breathe." Jessica rolled her eyes. "Breathe? She endangered us all. She needs to understand that actions have real consequences." "I agree," I said calmly. "But punishing her endlessly isn't the answer. We need to help her learn and grow from this, not crush her spirit." Jessica sighed, clearly unconvinced. "I just can't forgive her, Mike. Not yet." "Then don't forgive her yet," I replied. "But at least try to ease up a bit, for the family's sake." Jessica didn't respond, just stared off into the distance. I knew this was as close to a compromise as I was going to get from her. As time went on, Amanda started showing signs of improvement. She focused more on her schoolwork and tried to avoid conflicts. Jessica remained cold but slightly less harsh, which was a small win in my book. I kept encouraging Amanda, reminding her that things would get better with time. One day, Amanda came to me with a letter she had written to Jessica. "Dad, do you think Mom will read this?" she asked, looking hopeful. "I think she will," I said, taking the letter. "Let me give it to her." That evening, I handed the letter to Jessica. "Amanda wrote this for you. Please just read it." Jessica took the letter reluctantly and went into the bedroom. I could hear her reading it, and after a while she came out, her eyes a bit softer. "She really poured her heart out in this letter," she admitted. "She's trying, Jess. She really is," I said gently. Jessica nodded. "I'll talk to her, but she still has a lot to prove." "That's all I'm asking for," I replied. The conversation between Jessica and Amanda was tense but productive. Jessica agreed to gradually lift some of the restrictions if Amanda continued to show improvement. It was a slow process, but it was progress nonetheless. In the end, it took months for things to start feeling somewhat normal again. Jessica's bitchiness subsided little by little, and Amanda regained some of her lost trust. The road to recovery was long, but at least we were moving in the right direction. Looking back, I realized that our family had faced a tremendous challenge and somehow managed to come out stronger on the other side. It wasn't perfect, but it was our new normal, and we were learning to live with it. As the months dragged on, the atmosphere in our home remained tense but bearable. Jessica's harsh demeanor slowly softened, though she still maintained a firm grip on discipline. Amanda continued to work hard at rebuilding the trust she had shattered, and I tried to keep the peace as best I could. One day I came home from work to find Jessica and Amanda sitting at the kitchen table, deep in conversation. Jessica's face was less stern, and Amanda looked genuinely engaged. I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, we were turning a corner. "Hey, what's going on here?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Jessica looked up, a hint of a smile on her lips. "Amanda was just telling me about a project she's working on for school. It sounds interesting." Amanda nodded, her eyes bright. "Yeah, it's about family dynamics and how different factors influence relationships. I thought it might be a good topic given everything." I felt a surge of pride. Amanda was trying to take something positive from all this turmoil. "That sounds like a great idea, sweetheart," I said, taking a seat beside them. As we talked, I noticed Jessica was actually listening, not just pretending to. It was a small but significant step forward. Over the next few weeks, these moments became more frequent. Jessica wasn't entirely back to her old self, but she was making an effort. One evening after the kids were in bed, Jessica and I sat on the porch again. This time, the silence between us was more comfortable. "You know, Mike, I've been thinking," Jessica began, her tone softer than it had been in a long time. "Maybe I've been too hard on Amanda. It's just, I was so scared. I still am." I reached out and took her hand. "I know, Jess. I've been scared too. But we've got to move forward for all our sakes." Jessica sighed, leaning into me. "I'm trying, Mike. I really am. It's just hard to let go of the fear." "We'll get there," I assured her. "One step at a time." As the weeks went by, the healing process continued. Amanda's grades improved, and she seemed more at ease. Jessica still had her moments of bitchiness, but they were fewer and further between. We even managed to have a family game night without any major blow-ups, which felt like a miracle. One day, Amanda came to me with an idea. "Dad, I've been thinking, maybe we should all go to therapy together. You know, family therapy. It might help us heal better." I was taken aback by her maturity. "That's a great idea, Amanda. I think it could really help." When I brought the idea to Jessica, she was hesitant at first. "I don't know, Mike. We've been through so much already." "Exactly," I countered. "That's why we need this, to heal as a family." Jessica finally agreed, and we started attending family therapy sessions. They weren't easy, but they were necessary. We learned to communicate better, to understand each other's pain and perspectives. It was a long road, but it felt like we were finally moving in the right direction. In the end, the experience brought us closer together. Jessica's bitchiness mellowed into a more manageable form of strictness, and Amanda grew into a more responsible and understanding young woman. Our family wasn't perfect, but it was stronger. Looking back, I realized that the ordeal had tested us in ways we never imagined, but it had also forged us into a tighter, more resilient unit. We had faced the storm and come out the other side, bruised but not broken. And for that, I was grateful. Months passed, and although the wounds were healing, they were far from gone. Jessica's bitchiness had simmered down but hadn't disappeared completely. She still had a sharp tongue and wasn't afraid to use it, especially when Amanda made even the smallest mistake. But there were more good days than bad now, and I clung to that progress. One Saturday morning, I found Jessica in the kitchen making breakfast. She looked up as I walked in, her expression guarded. "Good morning," she said curtly. "Morning, Jess. Smells good," I replied, trying to keep things light. Amanda soon joined us, and I could sense the tension between her and Jessica. "Morning, Mom, Dad," she greeted us cautiously. "Morning, Amanda," I said, smiling. Jessica just nodded, her lips pressed into a thin line. As we ate, I decided to bring up something that had been on my mind. I was thinking, maybe we could take a family trip, get away for a while, spend some time together? Jessica raised an eyebrow. "A trip? With everything that's happened?" "Exactly because of everything that's happened. We need a break, a chance to reconnect without all the stress hanging over us," I explained. Amanda's eyes lit up. "That sounds amazing, Dad. I'd love that." Jessica sighed, clearly not thrilled with the idea. "I suppose it wouldn't hurt, but it needs to be somewhere close, nothing too extravagant." "Of course," I agreed, feeling a bit more hopeful. We planned a weekend getaway to a cabin by the lake. It was simple, quiet, and exactly what we needed. The kids were excited, and even Jessica seemed to relax a bit as we packed up and headed out. The drive was peaceful, with Amanda and her siblings chatting in the back seat. Jessica sat beside me, staring out the window. I reached over and squeezed her hand. She looked at me, her expression softening for a moment before she turned back to the scenery. When we arrived at the cabin, the kids ran off to explore while Jessica and I unpacked. "This place is nice," she admitted, looking around. "Peaceful." "Yeah, it is," I agreed. "I think this is exactly what we needed." The weekend went by in a blur of laughter, fishing, and campfires. We shared stories, played games, and for a brief moment it felt like the old days. Jessica even smiled more, her guard lowering as she enjoyed the time with our family. One evening, as we sat by the fire, Amanda turned to Jessica. "Mom, I just want to say how sorry I am again. I know I hurt you, and I'm trying so hard to make it right." Jessica stared at the fire for a long moment before finally speaking. "I know, Amanda, and I can see that you're trying. It's just going to take time for me to fully trust you again." Amanda nodded, tears in her eyes. "I understand. I just want you to know that I love you and I'm really sorry." Jessica reached over and hugged her. A real hug, not the stiff, reluctant one she had been giving. "I love you too, Amanda. We'll get through this together." Watching them, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. We still had a long way to go, but we were moving forward, step by step. The trip had been a good idea, a chance to heal away from the pressures of everyday life. As we packed up to head home, I felt a renewed sense of hope for our family. We had been through hell and back, but we were stronger for it. Jessica's bitchiness had its moments, but beneath it was a woman who loved her family fiercely, even if she struggled to show it sometimes. We drove back home, the car filled with the sound of laughter and plans for the future. For the first time in a long while, I felt like everything might just turn out okay. We had faced the storm and come out the other side, not unscathed, but certainly stronger. And for that, I was grateful. As we settled back into our routine at home, the effects of our getaway lingered in the air. Jessica was still strict and could be quite bitchy at times, but there was a noticeable shift in her demeanor. The walls she had built up were slowly coming down, brick by brick. Amanda continued to show how sorry she was, helping out around the house more and being extra careful not to step on any toes. Jessica, while still keeping a tight grip on discipline, started to acknowledge Amanda's efforts with small gestures, a nod of approval here, a faint smile there. One evening, as we were finishing dinner, Jessica cleared her throat. "I've been thinking," she started, glancing around the table. "Maybe we should have another family meeting. Talk about how we can move forward and make sure something like this never happens again." I nodded, feeling a wave of relief. "That's a good idea, Jess. Communication is key." Amanda and the other kids looked a bit nervous, but agreed. We gathered in the living room, and I could see Jessica was trying hard to keep her composure. "Amanda," Jessica began, her voice firm but not as harsh as before, "I want you to understand that what you did was incredibly dangerous. But I also see that you're trying to make amends, and I appreciate that." Amanda looked down, nodding. "I know, Mom, I'm really sorry. I just wanted to fix things, but I made it worse." Jessica sighed, then continued. "We all make mistakes. What's important is that we learn from them and don't repeat them. You're grounded for now, but I'm willing to start lifting some restrictions if you keep showing that you're serious about earning back our trust." Amanda's face lit up with a mix of relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Mom. I promise I won't let you down." Jessica turned to our other kids. "And you two, I know this has been hard on you as well. We're all in this together, and I want you to feel safe and loved." Our youngest, Sarah, spoke up. "We know, Mom. We love you too." It was a touching moment, one that felt like a step in the right direction. As the days turned into weeks, our family dynamic began to shift. Jessica's bitchiness became less frequent, and she started to show more of the warmth I knew was in her. One Saturday, while we were all sitting in the backyard, Jessica turned to me. "Mike, I've been thinking about therapy. For myself, I think I need to work through some things." I was taken aback, but pleasantly surprised. "That's a great idea, Jess. I think it'll really help." She nodded, looking a bit vulnerable. "I've been holding on to so much anger and pain. It's not fair to you or the kids." "We'll support you every step of the way," I assured her. Jessica's decision to seek therapy was a turning point. It wasn't an overnight fix, but it marked the beginning of a new chapter for us. She started attending sessions regularly, and I could see the difference it was making. She was still the same strong-willed woman I married, but there was a softness returning to her. Amanda continued to work hard, and the relationship between her and Jessica improved slowly but surely. There were still tough days, but there were also good days filled with laughter and genuine connection. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Jessica leaned into me. "You know, Mike, I think we're going to be okay. It's been a hell of a journey, but I think we're finally on the right path." I wrapped my arm around her, feeling a sense of peace. "Yeah, Jess, I think so too." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I realized just how far we had come. We had faced incredible challenges and come out stronger on the other side. Our family was far from perfect, but it was ours, and we were learning to navigate the ups and downs together. And for the first time in a long while, I felt a deep sense of hope for our future. Months continued to pass, and our family settled into a new normal. Jessica's therapy sessions were helping, but she still had her moments. There were times when her bitchiness would flare up unexpectedly, but we had learned to navigate those moments with a bit more patience and understanding. One evening, while we were all gathered in the living room watching TV, Jessica suddenly muted the show and turned to Amanda. "Amanda, I need to know something," she said, her tone sharp. "Why did you think it was a good idea to contact my parents after everything we told you?" Amanda looked startled, not expecting the question out of the blue. I just thought maybe they had changed. I didn't want to believe they were as bad as you said." Jessica's eyes narrowed. "And what did you expect to happen? That they would suddenly become loving grandparents?" "No, I don't know, Mom. I was wrong," Amanda stammered, clearly distressed. Jessica sighed, the edge in her voice softening slightly. I need you to understand that some people don't change, no matter how much we want them to. It's something I had to learn the hard way. Amanda nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. I get it now. I really do. I decided to step in before things escalated further. Jess, she understands. We've all learned a lot from this. Let's focus on moving forward. Jessica took a deep breath and nodded. You're right, Mike. We need to keep looking ahead. The next day, I decided it was time for a heart-to-heart with Jessica. Jess, I know this has been incredibly hard on you, but I'm really proud of how far you've come, I said as we sat on the porch. She looked at me, her eyes softening. Thanks, Mike. I'm trying. I really am. It's just, sometimes the past feels so heavy. I know, but we're here for you, every step of the way, I assured her. Jessica leaned her head on my shoulder and we sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sunset. It felt like a small victory, a moment of peace in the midst of the chaos. As time went on, our family meetings became a regular thing. We'd sit down every week to talk about our feelings, our progress, and what we could do to support each other. It wasn't always easy, but it was necessary. We were slowly but surely rebuilding the trust and connection that had been damaged. Jessica's therapy continued to help her manage her emotions, and she even started to open up more about her past. Talking about it helps, she admitted one evening. It's like a weight lifting off my shoulders. Amanda was making great strides too. She was more responsible, more considerate, and our relationship was stronger than ever. Dad, I'm really grateful for everything, she told me one day. I know I messed up, but I'm trying to be better. You are better, Amanda. We're all learning and growing together, I replied, hugging her. Our youngest kids, Sarah and Jake, seemed happier too. They sensed the shift in the family dynamic and were thriving in the more positive atmosphere. It felt like we were finally finding our footing again. One weekend, we decided to take another trip, this time to the mountains. The fresh air and beautiful scenery did wonders for all of us. We hiked, laughed, and made new memories. It was a reminder of how far we'd come and how much we had to look forward to. As we stood at the top of a mountain, looking out at the breathtaking view, Jessica took my hand. Thank you, Mike, for never giving up on us. I squeezed her hand and smiled. We're a team, Jess. Always. We stood there, our family around us, and I felt a deep sense of contentment. The journey had been tough, and there were still challenges ahead, but we were facing them together, and that made all the difference. Our family was stronger, our bonds deeper, and our future brighter, and for that, I was endlessly grateful. As the seasons changed, so did our family. Jessica's moments of bitchiness became fewer and further between, but they never fully disappeared. That was just part of who she was, and I had learned to live with it. We had all come a long way, and the scars from the past had begun to fade, even if they would never completely vanish. One crisp autumn afternoon, we decided to have a family barbecue. It was the perfect way to celebrate how far we'd come. The kids were excited, and even Jessica seemed to be in good spirits, which was a rare and welcome sight. I was manning the grill when Amanda came up to me. Dad, I've been thinking, she said, a thoughtful look on her face. What's on your mind, sweetheart? I asked, flipping a burger. I want to write a book about our experience. I think it could help other families going through similar things, she said, her eyes shining with determination. I felt a swell of pride. That's a fantastic idea, Amanda. I think you do a great job with that. She smiled and gave me a hug. Thanks, Dad. I'm going to start working on it tonight. Jessica called everyone to the table, and we all gathered around, the smell of grilled food filling the air. She looked around at us, her expression softer than I'd seen in a long time. I just want to say something, she began, her voice steady. We've been through a lot, but we've come out stronger. I'm proud of all of you. There was a chorus of agreements and smiles all around. It was moments like these that made all the struggles worth it. We had faced our demons and come out the other side not unscathed, but certainly stronger. After dinner, as the kids played in the yard, Jessica and I sat on the porch watching them. "You know, Mike, I think we're going to be okay," she said, leaning against me. "I think so too, Jess. We've come a long way," I replied, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "Do you remember when everything felt like it was falling apart?" she asked, a hint of sadness in her voice. "Yeah, I do. But look at us now. We're still standing, stronger than ever," I said, squeezing her hand. She smiled, a real, genuine smile. "I'm glad you never gave up on us." "Never," I promised. As the sun set and the sky turned a beautiful shade of orange, I realized just how far we had come. The journey had been anything but easy, but we had made it. Our family was stronger, our bonds deeper, and our future brighter. Jessica still had her moments, and there would always be challenges, but we were facing them together, and that made all the difference. We had built something strong and unbreakable out of the ashes of our past. I watched the kids laughing and playing, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. Our family was not perfect, but it was ours, and we had fought hard for it. Looking back, I knew we had faced incredible odds and come out the other side. The scars of the past would always be there, but they no longer defined us. We were stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever the future held, and for that, I was endlessly grateful. Bye-bye.